Good morning.
Back again.
Back from separate abodes.
Sad, a little bit sad, but it's okay.
What's the reasoning?
Oh, wife out of town and didn't want to drag the child up to Album Surf, even though I should have set her loose up there.
I think it's fine. It's a different vibe. We're at home still. It's earlier than normal as well, so maybe we'll be groggy. I'm not sure, or maybe it'll be a good thing.
Maybe it'll be haven't had too much time yet to let stray thoughts enter. So
Have you had
on point?
Have you had coffee yet?
I sure have. Have you? I've had my greens first and then my coffee.
Perfect. I'm just starting with coffee right now, so I'll drink it while we're potting.
I just called Athletic Greens first. Also, maybe it's going to be a bad show. It's a bad omen.
AG1 athleticgreens.com/surf. Importantly, how are your new album slides working for you?
I love them. They're so, you know what I was thinking as I looked down at them, they reminded me of something, and it finally dawned on me. They're very similar to the fancy kind of slides that Muslim men wear in Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, like the rich Gulfies, Dubai.
I'm gonna have to look those up on the internet. I can't recall.
Very similar.
You think that's what Matt based the design on?
I'm hoping. I'm trusting that a trip to Dubai. I bet he laid over in Dubai, maybe on his way to the Maldives. Where did he go?
Maybe. The Maldives, Niyama Resort.
Oh man, got to get there. Got to get me there. These slides can take me there. I'll wear them every day.
Well, you'll fit right in. Apparently, I got a compliment on mine the very first day I wore them out to get coffee. The girl who was standing behind me in line at coffee fully interrupted. I was just staring at my phone. She leans in and she's like, hey. I'm like, yeah. She's like, I just wanted to say those are super cool sandals. And I was like, well, to be honest with you, I'm not sure. They're verging on either the ugliest sandals that I've ever seen or the coolest sandals that I've ever seen. And I really wasn't sure where they land until you just validated that they're actually cool. And she started laughing and she's like, no, those are amazing. So I directed her to Album.
Is she going to buy a pair? Is she going to buy a pair for her significant other this holiday season?
I didn't ask. She was very confused about, like, they're from a surf shop. Like, why would a surf shop carry that? And I'm like, well, it's not really a surf shop. It's more like, and I just got into, I got into the weeds a little bit.
Getting into the weeds about Album is all too easy. You know, they have leather jackets and
exactly,
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and then I stopped short of, well, they collaborate with this independent shoe manufacturer in Santa Ana, so they don't actually make the shoes in Album. It's not like they have elves in the back making shoes. They use the shoes. She's like, so now it's in Santa Ana? I don't know. This is way too confusing. Albumsurf.com. Go there.
You don't even need to /surf there.
That's right. All right. So, dude, the listener line lit up this week. We have so much feedback. So much feedback.
I'm excited.
I'm going to start with an email, though. Hey, this is Steve Rees, sort of from Beach Grit. I got to tell you, my wife doesn't surf. She always agrees to take photos and videos of me surfing, hours of her holding the phone up, never complaining. Did we plan our Caribbean honeymoon around surfing? 100% we did. She's never given more than a whimper when I throw down cash for boards, wetsuits. I watch WSL for hours instead of the Hallmark Channel. I thought tuning into the Grit while in the car might be the turning point and the deal breaker, the wedge, the dagger. But turns out she loves it. You and Chaz talking homeschool, fat kids on e-bikes, and Thanksgiving protocols. She is so into it, laughing and commenting every few miles down the road. Frick, I'm so happy about this. Shared love of surfing podcast. Is there any way that you guys could give her a shout out in the next episode with Chaz? Her name is Becky. I doubt you want, but it would blow her mind. Anyways, peace, Steve.
Becky,
take it away, Chaz.
Becky, I can't believe it. You are truly a unicorn in every single way. But the fact that you listen to David Lee and I blather on makes you a saint. So thank you very much, Becky. And wow, I don't know how you do it. Is Becky going to reach a snapping point? Is there going to be Becky, are you just gonna flat out break? Are you gonna, Steve, you're gonna be looking at him driving to another beach to film him surf, listening to me and David Lee? And Becky, are you just gonna say, what is this? And open your car door and roll out, just like remember Steve Carell in what was that movie with Ryan Gosling where
it's Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love, where his wife is talking about the affair at the start. He's just stop talking until he finally just opens the door and rolls out. Becky, do that when it gets too much. Just do that.
It's I've heard lesser offenses. To be honest, there's a long list of husbands who have been murdered by their wives. In fact, I think that is the greatest threat to a husband. If you listen to any true crime podcast, I feel like there's shows dedicated to it on Lifetime and the Oprah Network and all that sort of stuff of women who snap on their husbands. And it's usually just, they're just lazy. They're sitting around drinking beer on the sofa. They're not actively imposing their will on their wife. So there is a good chance that Becky might hit that point.
Exactly. Steve just forcing surf and surf adjacent content. There is a breaking point.
Here's what I think that breaking point comes down to, if I really excavate it, is women, I'm making a generalization, but women are committed to the marriage. They're really committed. Becky is committed to making this work with Steve. And they're so disappointed. 9 times out of 10, the husband will disappoint. And so it's like after 20 years of dogged commitment, and then just having to smell his farts in bed or watch football on the weekends, and him not acknowledging a birthday or a honeymoon or an anniversary or whatever, him asking you to hold the cell phone and identify him from the other 99 surfers wearing black wetsuits in the lineup and then push record. And then God forbid you look down at your book or Instagram and miss his best ride of the day. Oh my gosh, Steve's going to come in stomping his feet. I mean, this is what drives marriages to the end.
The snap. It's going to be snapped 5.
Absolutely. Logan Doolian, snapped 5. All the wives of the surfers. Okay, so I got a follow-up question for Becky. She is so lucky. This isn't really a question. She is so lucky that Karen came along, because there was a moment where the name Becky was
the Karen.
It wasn't exactly the Karen, but it certainly was being used as like Karen is the suburban white lady. I feel like Becky was just the general white chick that would order, pumpkin spice lattes and wear Uggs. Like, and maybe Beyonce used it in a song. I think maybe that was where it started.
I think you're right.
There was like a year where every white chick was just Becky.
Wasn't Becky the code name of the girl that Jay-Z cheated on?
There you go. I didn't know that was part of the story. So now it makes sense.
I think that's it. I could be totally wrong. Becky's gonna set us right on the listener line next week.
So the question is, Becky, call into the listener line. And the question, I guess, is, were you pissed? Were you offended that your name got co-opted by the culture? And because you were looking down the lens of the rest of your life being known as what Karens now have to face. And are you thrilled that you dodged it? And how long until you snap on Steve?
Yeah.
It's a 4-part.
Multi-question.
It's not multiple choice. You got to answer all of them. All right. Well, let's go to the official listener line now, if I can find the correct call. Remember, I was asking, where does Salad Days come from? The name, the phrase? Okay.
Salad Days, the famous punk band, The Descendants album or song. They, Salad Days referring to the beginning of your life, as in if you have a meal, a big meal, you have the salad before your meal. So Salad Days, your life is the meal. It's like beginning of your life is the Salad Days, It's all fun. Okay, Salad Days, beginning of your life. It's like a meal. Peace out.
That was like a poem right there. That was like spoken word performance. I absolutely love that. Who was that?
He didn't leave his name.
I mean, that was truly a spoken word. Like, imagine throwing a little bit of like jazz behind that. How great that would be.
Should I do it? Should we? I won't do it to you, but for listeners, I can cut in post-production and add the jazz version in right now.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll do it, and I'll play it for you too later next week.
Great.
But I love when people over-explain, and honestly, I feel like I am that guy. And I don't think I always was, but I think because of the podcast, I want to make sure that the listener understands what I'm talking about or something. And so I'll explain it 2 or 3 different ways, because occasionally I will listen back to an episode for editing purposes. And I'm just shaking my head at myself going, God, I am so annoying. Why am I doing that?
I mean, that's why, back to Becky, the brief times like I've scrubbed through a show to find what did we even talk about, to try to find the thing to write about. I just think, wow, listen to those two. Listen to those two turkeys.
I know. But I think there is a rhyme or reason for the madness.
Yeah.
I don't know, rhyme to the reason. I'm not sure. But I was saying last week that Salad Days, that's the punk song that I was referencing. I'm like, yeah, it was Chris Ward's section in What's Really Going Wrong. As soon as we got off the air, I realized, it was in Voluptuous, Bill Ballard's film, Voluptuous. Did you ever have that or watch that?
No, but I love Bill Ballard.
Yeah, I loved that film. And that was the Descendants' Salad Days was that track. And I loved the Descendants because of that. And that was an era, man, where I would learn about a band because it was in a surf film. And then I would buy, there was only a couple record shops in Southern California. Actually, Tower Records was a big one, but there was a couple of independent record shops that would carry punk music that Tower Records didn't have. And Bionic Records in Cypress. And then I think they opened one in Huntington Beach. And you could go in and you could find the Descendants and stuff like that was just on these tiny indie labels, you know?
Do you learn, it's fun. I was thinking about this, watching the slate of films from the Florida Surf Film Festival, thinking about the music. I was not wowed by any soundtrack in there. Were you?
I was not. And that is a category that we have to vote on. And this was one time where I felt very uninspired.
Yeah, like it seems, and nothing against the filmmakers themselves, and films are all great and stuff, but it just seemed, again, I guess my same complaint with stuff against the filmmakers. Sorry, guys. It just seemed everything was nothing new still. Like it seems like the same kind of either ambient stuff or whatever has been used for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really getting anything new.
I totally agree.
Hard with music though, I suppose. Licensing music's tough, but yeah.
That's the thing. I feel like in the era of surf films we grew up in, I don't think anybody licensed anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that I remember, who was it? I can't even remember the story, but one song, yeah, the band was like totally honored to be in whatever surf film. They're like, you kidding? Don't have to pay me royalties on it? It was like Metallica or something.
Oh wow. Okay, that's
I can't remember who it was. It was somebody big.
Well, I mean, this would be a great, if we actually research this topic, this would be a great conversation because there's so many great bands that actually kind of got their start in surf films. Like Ben Weatherly was roommates with one of the guys, maybe Tom DeLonge from Blink 182.
Yeah.
And so that song Mutt is written about Benji, and that was the connection to Taylor Steele. So he was using Blink 182 songs before they were anything. Pennywise, The Offspring. I mean, so many, especially
it was that whole era. I feel surf, film, and the new punk or whatever was tied like so close together. Like one, you couldn't have one without the other.
But at some point, licensing did become an issue, of course. All right. Well, remember Nick Bravanti had 10,000 minutes of podcast listening last week?
Sure did.
Okay. Check this out from a listener.
No way Nick Bravanti only listened to one episode.
Let me start again.
Hey, David Lee. I'm listening to the latest podcast. And there's no way Nick Bravanti only listened to one episode, like for every single episode that came out, because I did, and I have exactly like half of the minutes he listened to. He must have listened to every podcast twice. What a dude.
Oh, it's totally amazing.
So either Nick Bravante is lying, or he set in motion a plan 1 year ago, knowing that he would be posting his Spotify Wrapped in his stories for us to see, and he scrubbed through every episode twice to hit the 10,000.
Yeah, because you can't lie though, can you? I mean, it's
Unless,
like
or he photoshopped the screenshot.
I mean, I guess so, but that'd be complicated. I'm gonna say Nick Bravante accidentally let his computer run, and then went back and accidentally let it run again.
That happens. So Lauren and I will watch. Now, obviously, we have a baby, so we're up at night, like feeding and stuff. And we'll be watching a series, and obviously, it's like, hey, we're watching this together. So if I'm gone to the store, you can't watch an episode without me because I won't know where we're at in the storyline. We're in this together. You know what I mean? She'll constantly fall asleep with the TV on, let it play, and then I'll come back tomorrow and be like, we're not on episode 8.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, screw.
That's brutal. That
Yeah.
is rough. Having the show that you do watch with your spouse or partner, there's a lot of pressure there. There is a lot of pressure. Like the one you watch yourself and just do what you want with, all fine and good, no pressure. Watch it when you want, don't when you don't. But man, like spouse is out of town, can't watch that episode of Succession. Gotta wait.
Nope. It's a nightmare. Or you commit to doing it while she's out of town, and she'll do it while she's in the hotel room.
Sure. There are workarounds.
The problem is she has fewer and fewer shows that she could just watch on her own time. So she's going to be relegated to like reading a book or not watching anything, because inevitably I get hooked. I'm watching The Voice. I'm watching the Real Housewives franchises. I'm all into everything now.
Oh, poor man. Poor Lauren.
Lauren's
it's a bummer. You're just chiming in on all of her space.
Completely. I'm sending her Instagram stories about who got kicked off the Real Housewives or who got sued. I'm just like, oh my God, can you believe what happened?
Nice.
It's getting bad. Okay, so I'm not going to leave you hanging with Nick Bravante and wondering where those 10,000 minutes came from, right?
Oh, I thought I was going to get, okay, here we go.
No, of course not, dude. I don't research much, but occasionally.
David Lee, Chaz, Nick Bravante here, calling from Silver Beach, New Jersey. As official leader of the Devin Howard for President campaign, and now unofficial idiot savant of the Grit, I'm here to blame my complete waste of 10,000 minutes on none other than Ashton Goggins. I've been a listener for a couple years and had heard references to the infamous table jump, but wanted to get it straight from the source. I did try perusing show titles and descriptions, but couldn't find the episode and just decided to start from the top. Episode 1. Instead of enriching myself with an NPR podcast or learning about DMT and aliens on Rogan, I listened to you, David and Chaz. I've since purchased a mid-length, quit washing my hair, and considered getting married just to get my first divorce out of the way, all while laughing and rolling my eyes through many long car rides, daily breakfast preparation, and not-so-daily stretch sessions to keep my bum, knee, and shoulder in line. Though an epic waste of time, I wouldn't trade it for the world. So thanks, Ashton. Thanks for nothing.
Amazing. So is there 10,000 hours or is there not, is the question.
10,000 minutes.
10,000 minutes, I mean.
Yes, there is. He hit it because he listened to all of our episodes in 1 year. He said he started at episode 1.
Oh, in 1 year? Okay, so the dude who called in and said there's no way because there's only half that many minutes, he was talking about the year.
Yep.
Nick went and listened from episode 1. Wow. Is episode 1 even, does it even exist? What do we talk about?
Can you guess what the date was for episode 1?
I'm going to guess it was July 2018.
It's actually June 2017.
Whoa. We've been
Can you
doing this since
believe
2017?
How crazy is that?
How do we only have 140 odd episodes? Oh yeah, because we used to do it once every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I think the schedule has shifted. And I have a feeling Nick said he's been listening for a couple of years. So I don't think he would have re-listened this year to the ones that he had already listened to. But let's say he listened to 50 old episodes and then the 50 new episodes from this week or this year. I feel like he could hit the 10,000 hours that way.
Okay, there we go. Nick.
That's a commitment, dude. So he's listening to more than one a week. That would mean he's listening to 2 a week. That's a commitment.
Nick, I hope that Nick is a long distance trucker moving up the Eastern Corridor.
Yeah,
he said long car rides.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, I did click on his Instagram. I think I followed him on Instagram. Another reason why you would love him is he has a vintage Porsche.
Oh, Nick Bravante.
Is he your favorite listener?
By far. Bum knee, bum shoulder, vintage Porsche, done mid-length, no hair washing, gonna get married. Beautiful.
I love that was one of the things that he referenced from our advice was getting a starter marriage out of the way, which I remember now that we talked about it, but I kind of agree with that advice. It's kind of good advice.
I'm saying, I'm like, the advice on this show, I stand behind 9/10 of it.
Yeah.
As great advice. Except for kicking cars.
Well, a lot of it's, well, okay, I got 2 stories. Remind me to come back to both those. A lot of the advice is flippant, but the older you get, you realize that you should be kind of flippant in life. Life isn't that serious. And that initial kind of reaction, the first take on things is often accurate. And so it's okay. The flippant response, the advice that we give is okay.
Fortune favors the bold.
Yes, I agree. And back to getting a starter marriage out of the way. I don't want to harp on that, but I've known a couple young people this year who are planning to get married or are getting married and or did get married. Hopefully it all works out great, you know. But you just, as an older person, you look at that and you're just like, all right, we'll see how this one pans out. I know they love each other. I know there's no red flags in the relationship at all. The only red flag is age. And you don't know what you want when you're 22. I don't care how much you love somebody.
Telling you, it's way cooler to be a divorcee after 10 years of a relationship than an ex. Oh, that's my ex-boyfriend. We were together for 10 years.
Well,
that's my ex-girlfriend.
Totally. I agree with everything. So I'm saying that I'm not against the idea of getting married. I'm just expecting that it might not last in, you know, never-ending marriage. But fortune does favor the bold, and it is great to have a story, and it is great to have a war wound, and you're actually better for it. You have more character, you have more life experience, you're a better partner for your next one. So I'm for it. Go for it. Dive in head first, deep end.
Just don't even question. If you're on the fence today, maybe you're sitting in the car listening to this podcast with your girlfriend, turn and go straight to Vegas. Take Becky straight. I think Steve and Becky are already married. Good job, Steve and Becky. But if you're sitting in traffic right now, listening, girlfriend next to you, drive to Vegas. I dare you. I dare you to drive to Vegas right now in shotgun.
Call David, in. Call
David
into the
and I will drop what we're doing and throw you a. We if somebody does this, somebody shotguns based on this advice right now, right today. We will throw them a Surf Splendor wedding party. Ceremony.
Yeah, reception. It'll be pizza will be the main food. We'll cut off the crust for everybody, so there's no fighting about that.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it. I'm in. Congratulations to Ben Gravy once again. For anybody who was in Nick Bravante's situation trying to figure out which episode the table jump was in, episode number 14.
Wow, 14. That happened early.
It was it did happen early. It was the first episode of 2018. It was when we were still recording at the Surfrider Foundation in San Clemente. We had a home studio there. They regretted, so they were very kindly, one of their employees or volunteers or friend of the show, listener, reached out and said, hey, you guys should come record here. This should be your home studio. We've got this perfect space for you. And it's halfway between both David and Chaz. You can meet in the middle and we'll get some publicity out of it. It was only about 4 weeks until they regretted that decision. And the Orange County sheriff showed up looking for me to investigate the physical assault that had happened.
I still can't believe that like it got that far. That Ashton called the cops to such a degree that they showed up physically.
Yeah. Well, listeners can go back and listen to that. Unfortunately, we were not filming the show back then. But Ashton, I'll retell a version of it that I feel like maybe we always talked about the table jump, but a little bit of the backstory was Ashton, we were all friends. Ashton reached out to me and he said, hey, I would love to come on the Grit because Chaz talks about or he talks crap about Stab Magazine and the death of print or whatever, a few things that you were talking about at the time. And I would like to debate those topics with him. I was like, absolutely. So Chad or Ashton set this into motion first. That's kind of an important detail. So I cleared it with you. We scheduled it and Ashton came to debate these topics with you. And we kind of positioned it as surf media debate, Beach Grit versus Stab. Well, he was new to Stab and Sam McIntosh, the owner, I don't think had approved that Ashton spoke for Stab Magazine. But I asked at the very beginning of the episode, I'm like, are you here representing Stab Magazine or are you here just as Ashton Goggins? And he goes, no, I'm here representing Stab Magazine. I think that's even on air. And ultimately, the conversation devolved into mudslinging, name calling, making fun of each other's wives, ultimately a table jump, which a lot of the listeners thought was phony or improvised or acted out on your behalf. And which you can address in a minute. But then after the fact, I published the episode. I talked to Ashton actually on my drive home and I was like, dude, that got a little out of hand. Do you want me to publish this or do you want me to like delete the episode? And he's like, I'm fine with if you publish it. So I went ahead and published it. And then the guy never spoke to me again. And I even texted him and I called him and I was like, hey, are you pissed at me? Like the Orange County sheriff showed up and they're investigating this now. And he never spoke to me again until actually the Florida Surf Film or the Orlando trade show. We had an interaction, but he's never been willing to address his involvement in that situation. But was that faked? Was the table
No,
faked?
nope. I was hot under the collar. I was angry.
Why'd you get so angry? And in hindsight, do you wish you wouldn't have?
No, heck no. Look at how many miles of laughs. I mean, this thing, at least for me, has provided so many laughs. I don't know, just the way his face looks. Like he's got that real smug looking face, which is like kind of portly smugness, was just too much for me to sit still. Like there was just something about him.
Well, I'm surprised to see you lose your cool. Because nothing that he said, I thought, yeah, I guess it would have just been the smugness because nothing that he said was actually offensive. The final jump happened. The straw that broke the reclaimed wood coffee table was him saying that your wife is the breadwinner, essentially, is kind of what he was saying. And that was first of all, not offensive. And you easily could have taken the path of just been like, what are you living in the 50s? What are you, sexist? Like a woman isn't allowed to earn more than a man. What are you even talking? Like that would have been an easy path to take. But I guess if somebody's face bothers you, then you're going to get upset about it.
I think it was a combo of the smugness throughout and the super passive aggressive, like the backpedaling, like lame. I mean, I've gone and listened to that show actually to think, wow, well, yeah, to the start of it. And just the kind of mealy mouthed, like sliminess, like Ashton, like, yeah, I think I was just got more and more bothered as it went on. And his face saying those words was just eventually too much.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that. I don't want to go back and listen to it. I don't want to listen to any of our early episodes. I have a feeling they're so bad, you know, and not that these are any better, but okay. Well, since we're giving people advice, a marriage advice or suggesting that they go get married right now, let's go back to the listener line.
What's up, Chaz and David? This is Christopher from New York. Had to give you guys a call. I just got back from my honeymoon last month, and I just so happened to be at Niama. And I'm sure Matt filled you in on the absolute undescribable beauty of the place, but I wanted to let you guys know that I surf 3 times a day, and it wasn't a problem. There's so much to do on that island. My wife literally had a massage, went out to get lunch, planted coral, snorkeling, and I participated in all of these things and still got in 3 surfs a day because the break was literally 100 yards walk from our spot. So it is possible. You can do it. Just be cognizant of your partner. Thanks, y'all, for everything you do. And Chaz, give Tom Ford Ode Wood a try. All right, y'all, get barrel.
That's so funny. I have done Tom Ford Ode Wood.
We should explain what that means. What do you mean you've done Tom Ford Ode Wood? And how was it?
It's great. Tom Ford's wood is fantastic. Yeah. But to Nyamra, yeah, perfume. Everyone.
So he's screwed, right?
This guy?
Yeah.
No, I mean, well, see, here's the thing too. Like, I think the advice that I was specifically thinking about is don't take a surf honeymoon if your partner doesn't surf was geared around people who weren't going to Nyama. If you can afford Nyama or to get a boat and go sit off the cloud break or whatever,
meaning a yacht.
Yeah, if you're not necessarily, was it Chris?
I forget his name.
Not that he was wealthy per se, but if you plan well, also like better be stinking 5-star. If your partner doesn't surf, then like don't go down to stinking Baja and stay at Baja Surf Hotel and surf out the front while your wife sits in Baja Surf's a fine hotel. But you know, if you're gonna do that, make it 5-star.
It's hard to argue with. For a price, everyone's happy is kind of the moral of this story.
Yep.
I know. As I was listening through the call, I was thinking, God, up until he said I did all of those things with her, up until that moment, I was thinking, dude, wait till this honeymoon phase is over. Sure, she said, okay, go ahead and surf. But it's very different than like, you know, her wanting you to go surf, her agreeing versus her wanting. But he's right. If you're then doing everything that she wants to do, taking a little break every day from one another, you don't have to do 24/7 together. You know, a little break here and there is great as long as you're meeting each other's needs, fulfilling each other's.
I can't wait till Nyama Resorts becomes a sponsor of the show, and then we can go.
It's so organic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm dying to.
Yeah.
So I think that's a perfect segue into our perfume feedback, our cologne feedback.
I was hoping all week that you were just getting roasted for your stance. Did you get roasted?
Well, let's see. Let's go to the email. Let's go to the email line and find out. There's only one person's opinion that I would attach any weight to, and that one person happened to email. Before I get to her email, though, what did you think of the Tom Ford cologne? Were you or no? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's great. I like all of Tom Ford's scents. Actually, they're all fantastic. They're on the pricier end of the scale, and so you're getting a good product when you get your Tom Ford. Yeah, but Ode Wood is fantastic.
I'm a big fan of Tom Ford's films.
Yeah. Which is your favorite?
Well, there's only 2, right? There's Nocturnal Animals, and then I forget, is it called A Single Man? Yeah,
A Single Man.
I like A Single Man much better.
I'm less a fan of his films than I am of his clothing. I think really? His clothes are epic. He's a masterful designer.
A Single Man was a masterful film, I thought. Yeah. And I was really looking forward to Nocturnal Animals, and I went and saw it in the theater, and I was disturbed by it. So that kind of took away from my appreciation, but I rewatched it since it came out on Netflix and thought it was fantastic. Like appreciated it much, much more.
I saw it in the theater as well and left feeling vaguely bored.
Rewatch it.
Okay. Will do.
And I also, not only did I appreciate kind of the filmmaking of it more, but I understood the storyline better at home. Like, I think some of that was lost on me from the first viewing because I was maybe just distracted by being disturbed. Okay, so this email. Hello, David and Chaz. Actually, Valerie Duprat. I'll just give you her name up front. Valerie Duprat wrote in and said, hello, David and Chaz. Since I'm probably one of the few female and French listeners, I thought I would casually chime in regarding the cologne discussion. One of the cultural shocks I had in coming to the US 20 years ago was the ridiculously low proportion of men not wearing eau de toilette. How, am I saying that wrong? Why? Eau de toilette. I grew up in Paris, but in a very sketchy neighborhood. And even there, people would spend the little money that they had on designer eau de toilette, not a cheap cologne. Why? Not sure. Maybe it's just part of the French European culture and people start wearing perfume in their teenage years. But looking back at my own experience and memories, the perfume you were wearing is part of your personality. And that is why people mostly wear the same perfume for years, because if they change, their friends would immediately notice. It is almost like a smell. The smell would be associated with a period of your life. And when that smell, when you wear that scent again, a load of memories come back with it, like Proust's Madeline. So I 100% agree with Chaz about how a cologne might make you feel like a character, the person that you are in public. But I disagree with him about alternating perfume very often, and also about mixing the same day. That would be sacrilege, like mixing a Pomerol with a Chateau Lafite. Perfumes are so personal that is also not a good gift for Christmas. You can't force a perfume onto somebody. The chemistry is real between your skin's pH and your smell buds. Anyway, I could go on and on about men wearing cologne, but in summary, if I was still young and dating, a man showing up with a designer perfume properly applied, not too much of it, would automatically get extra bonus points. As always, thank you for the great podcast. Love the non-surf related discussions as much as I do the surf ones. And by the way, as French, I also do love the crust of the pizza. I would trade the pizza part for the crust only. Cheers, Valerie.
Valerie, thank you so much. Total unicorn also, along with Becky, French and female and a listener. Whoa.
Yeah. You don't know the half of Valerie. I was almost offended when you replied to her and you're like, hey, if we're ever in France doing our show abroad, we'll come visit you and eat pizza. Are you not aware that Valerie lives in your own backyard of Encinitas, California?
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Valerie Duprat is a surfboard shaper by night.
Whoa.
And a biochemist by day.
How now? Look at that. What in the world?
How do you know this?
I do not know. Where does she shape out of?
Her backyard. She has a shaping bay in her backyard.
Is it Valerie Duprat surfboards?
Mermaid surfboards.
Oh, I've seen mermaids in the water.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's spelled MERE, mermaid surfboards.
Yeah.
So yeah, she has her doctorate in biochemistry. She did cancer research at UCSD, and she's a biochemist by day. She works in research.
Valerie Duprat.
How crazy is that?
Epic.
She was one of the competing shapers in the Icons of Foam this year. She was the only female competing shaper in the Icons of Foam at the boardroom show, the Pat Rawson one.
How'd you
do? She lost to Timmy Patterson, which is understandable.
That's a tough one to go against.
And check this out. How she got into shaping was because in addition to that, she's a mom, she's raising kids as well. So it's kind of like, how do you divide your time between all these things? She was walking down the beach one day years ago, and there was a old McTavish on the beach, just like washed up. And she said, she was like, this obviously somebody like wasn't wearing a leash, but this is like a pretty epic board. So she kind of waited around and nobody came to claim it. I think that she said that she actually came back a couple of different days in a row. So she didn't just claim it on day one, but after multiple days, took the board home and then did a ding repair, kind of fixed it up. So probably more than one ding repair, but just working with resin and fiberglass, she was like, I kind of enjoy doing this. And that was her first foray into surfboard shaping.
Man, what a legendary, what do they call it when superheroes, their origin stories?
Totally.
That is a great origin story right there.
It is. She is a superhero.
Yep. Valerie.
Yep.
But Valerie, I totally agree on the perfumes. I don't shift that often.
I was talking you into it, kind of.
Yeah. I do have, and like, yeah, I don't know. I have probably three that I rotate between, never at the same time, but they do remind me of times in my life. And so when I put that, one of the three on, then it'll take me back to when I was wearing it last.
Well, she talks about the smell being tied to memory. It's interesting how distinct or how strong that sense is tied to memory. I'll smell certain, like a plant or a flower or something, and it'll specifically remind me of like 14 years old in the summertime, the house that we were living in, playing super soakers outside, like these very distinct things. Comes back strong.
Yeah. Smell.
Well, I hate to disparage an entire culture. However, I feel like her example of that perfumes in France, like, isn't it from a time when we didn't have direct access to bathing like every single day, indoor plumbing? That's why cologne and perfume was invented.
Sure, but I'm going to say that the old world way is better than our newfangled American way of scrubbing everything off.
Okay.
Just douse yourself in some oils.
I knew you were going to say that.
Some ooh.
All right. Well, since she brought up pizza, let's go. I told you the listener line was sounding off this week. So since she brought up pizza, let's go to this call.
Hey, this is Ryan Miller, Bad Boy Rai Rai, calling into your listener line about your terrible takes. I listened to your podcast last week about eating pizza crust or not. Maybe about 2 hours afterwards, I was going to pick up my daughter from a party. It was late. I was starving, hadn't had dinner yet, and they had pizza at the place. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to grab myself a slice here. Ate it, looked at the crust, thought about you guys, tried it. It was horrible. Worse than I ever remembered it to be. In the future, I think I'd rather be one of those Somali children in the UNICEF ads with a bloated stomach from hunger than ever eat a piece of nasty pizza crust again.
Canceled for the
Canceled for
terrible
sure.
opinion and the terrible metaphor.
He is correct on his opinion, though. I completely agree. I'm with you, Bad Boy Rai Rai, Bad Boy Pie Pie. Yeah, I'm unswayed. I've gotten hit up in the DMs quite a bit this week about not eating pizza crust. People frustrated, people upset. Yeah.
Yes, I think so. Most people agreed with you about cologne from the feedback I saw, but definitely agreed with me about pizza.
I still don't understand. What's so good about the crust? Give me the pizza. Give me the part with cheese and meats.
I ate a pizza 2 days ago. The crust was the best part. And
I'm gonna go down and get
reheat.
I'm gonna get pizza today. I'm gonna get pizza today and go pitch the crust.
I'm gonna text Valerie and ask her where you should go get pizza in Encinitas to make sure that you're getting the right pizza.
Okay, do it.
Because I agree. If Bad Boy Rai Rai went to a house party for children, they're just serving Papa John's
Domino's.
or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Which that's cardboard. That crust tastes like cardboard. So I understand. But here's the deal, Bad Boy. What's up with that analogy? What's up with the Somali kid? And what did that Somali kid do to you? That kid's never had anything other than strife in its life. And then you're going to, first of all, bring up pizza in front of him. And second, make fun of his bloat, make fun of his distended belly. Absolutely rude. I don't care if you're a multimillionaire, celebrity, photographer to surf celebrity stars, canceled.
Ooh, Bad Boy Rai Rai, done. Well, I like that. I think that certain passionate statements need stark and striking metaphors to go along with them. And I think that the pizza crust being gross is apt in that metaphor.
I think that is the farthest stretch for something that is justifiable I've ever heard in my life. All of us overfed, privileged, white dudes living in literal $1 million houses making fun of a Somali child. Yeah, not eating, throwing out food because we have too much of it, and then making fun of the Somali child while we throw out food. I've never been more offended on this show, and I'm not easily offended.
Pizza crust is gross, though. Pizza crust is gross.
It is not. All right, one listener email about pizza, because This is actually packed full of important advice for our listeners. David, you absolutely nailed it. It is always okay to yell at somebody to slow down on your street, and eating pizza crust is essential. Crust is actually delicious and made by somebody with their own hands with love, and it's part of the pizza. Like many folks growing up, I was always taught to clean my plate. It's respectful, and it's also how you show someone that you appreciate their food. But as a new father, I'll give you an even better reason. Chewing your crust or anything, whether it's crusty bread from a sandwich, is essential to early childhood development. It's been studied and it's linked to children's development of speech. Chewing tough foods develops the muscles and the jaw, and it makes everything function better. As humans, we have evolved and we are using our jaws to rip animal flesh off bones less and less. So we need a replacement behavior to train our jaw and muscles for the next phase of life, which is communication. So there you have it. Pizza crust, full barrel, Frank.
Damn. Well, I'm going to force feed my daughter pizza crust then, but this jaw is fully formed.
I know. I like the idea of before the baby's at talking age, you're feeding him pizza.
Yeah. I mean, it's good though. I'm going to start recommending, or just, I'm going to put the pizza crust that I don't eat in a little satchel and carry it around. And when I see kids at the park and stuff, just stick a pizza crust in their mouth. For you,
that is a great idea. That is a great idea. In ballet class, you're like, hey, you're looking a little thin. Here, have some pizza
crust, kid.
Or use it as a training mechanism in ballet. They need to do a twirl. It's like the donkey with the carrot on the stick. You just put it around them in a circle and boom.
Too bad it's gross though, and nobody will want it.
I don't know. It depends. If they got some sophisticated kids in ballet, I feel like they'll appreciate pizza crust. All right. Etymology of the word kook. We got 2 listener calls about that.
Hey, gentlemen, it's Casey from Culver City. You read my poem on the podcast last January, which I wrote when I got a new board on the day of the January 6th Capitol riots. Thanks again for that. Anyway, I heard that the term kook arose in the 1950s and 1960s as a derogatory name for Vals, that is, people from the San Fernando Valley. In other words, Val 1.0, not modern day Val 2.0. The story goes that coastal locals called them kooks in reference to Rancho Cucamonga, a town so deep in the valley that it might as well have been Nevada. It's just another example of standard American class-based snobbery, another case of otherizing the poorer inland people living inland lifestyles who could rarely make it to the beach. What's the phrase I'm looking for here? Oh yeah, surfers are the worst.
I've never heard that folk etymology of kook. That's a good one to add to that it's Rancho Cucamonga. It's a good one to add to the bucket.
Yeah, I don't think it's accurate, or I think it's probably accurate specifically for the LA area, but I feel like the word was around before that.
I mean, the word was around before that as a word to mean cuckoo, I think, or kooky. But as it relates to surf, though, it may be. I mean, surf culture, for all intensive purposes, started at Malibu, 50s, right? And so it could have happened there and been broadcast around the world. Modern surf culture, not ancient
surf culture started at Malibu.
I mean, I think it first didn't it?
Well, I mean, the westernized version of
precisely our white version.
Yeah, there's a version of surf culture that you and I were raised in that started at Malibu, and it is pervasive. I think that it's probably the dominant way that non-surfers view surfing, but it's
like Omicron.
Like what?
Omicron.
In what way?
Or the Delta variant. I mean, Malibu white man surf culture came and just took over everything. I feel like it really became the dominant strain. Of course, and I'm not saying
it's the stereotype. It's the stereotype of surf culture. That's for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've got one more regarding the exact same topic, but it's a different take on where that word started.
Hey guys,
This is Anthony. I was just listening to your conversation about the origins of the word kook. And I had an old Leo Organis photo book at one time. I think it could, I don't know where the fuck it's from. But it, when they were surfing San Onofre, like in the 30s, the canyon where they built the nuclear power plant is where they would all go take a shit. And since they were all obsessed with Hawaiian culture, they used the Hawaiian word like Chaz reference. And to my knowledge, in the book it was spelled K-U-K, but Chaz maybe knows more than me, and so they started using the word kook because it's where they took a shit. I don't know. Something along those lines, but I'm a fucking UPS driver and it's still at work. God damn it. Money's good, but I don't know if it's fucking worth it. Anyway, cheers guys. Hope you get barreled.
Oh yeah, he's listening. I mean, calling in from his UPS driver job.
I don't know if he's getting a delivery or if he's doing the delivery, but he actually called
doing the delivery.
It kind of sounded like it because it started off with a beeping too.
And he said like the money's
good.
The money's good. Yeah.
Well, the funnier thing, he called back. I didn't play the callback because it was almost too abrasive on the ears to hear. But he called back while somebody's signing the thing, and you hear all the buttons of the UPS device. And he calls back and he's like, "Hey, I don't know why I said get barrel. You guys are in Southern California. We never get barreled here. You got to change it to just do like a cutback on a flat shoulder or something." And it sounded like the other person on the other side of the device was laughing as well. It was silly.
Oh man, I really like that. I really like the, funny. I like UPS, FedEx, whatever drivers anyway. Like I always think they're pretty steezy, right? When you see them and they're, especially the ones in the trucks with the open doors and they're in their shorts. And like, I always think, man, the way they like swing in and out of those trucks, the way they like kind of park in the middle of the street sometimes. And, I'm never once angry, I don't think, at a FedEx or UPS driver. Like they always seem like real chill dudes.
Well, so I got a buddy who just took a gig doing UPS driving through the holidays, and it's a horror show.
I don't doubt that it's a nightmare.
But he said to your point, he said it's the coolest group of people that he's ever worked with. And like everybody is so hardworking, so nice. But the way that, did I say Amazon or did I say UPS?
You said UPS.
Okay, I meant Amazon.
Yeah, the Amazon drivers, that one seems like that would be lame.
Yeah, he said the way that Amazon has structured the job makes it basically slave-like conditions.
Yeah.
Like people are not only peeing in bottles, like the drivers themselves, not only peeing in bottles, but crapping in buckets. Like, because Starbucks or whatever fast food public restrooms won't let you in if you're wearing an Amazon outfit because it's just happening too often. And you have so many packages to deliver that you can't really take breaks. And if you deliver more packages, they just add more. They're like, oh, this guy's really good. So they just add more tomorrow. It's a complete nightmare.
It's crazy. It's like to blame Jeff Bezos for this, but it's all our own fault. We
totally
demand the thing within 2 hours, and then force people into slave labor. And Jeff Bezos is just there willing to enslave them.
Completely. Well, that's what he was saying. He's like, well, for a lot of these people, it is good money. I don't know what he's making, 20 something bucks an hour, I think it was. And it's like, yeah, that's a good option for a lot of people. And I'm like, yeah, but Bezos is off of that same delivery making 10x, and so he's leveraging, so he's making you think that this is worth doing, but it's really a reflection of the job market. It's like, there's very little middle class, essentially, is what it's coming down to, and that's not a good thing.
I wonder if Bezos really became enlightened someday. If he woke up and just thought, I'm not happy. Like these billions upon billions upon billions of dollars haven't made me happy. like I'm going to go pay my drivers and workers like $1,000 an hour for a while. Just go crazy. Like I wonder what that would do. Would it just cause such a freak out in the economy that the whole thing would grind to a halt? Like the oil in the economy is greed, the greed of Jeff Bezos, or would it usher us into a utopia?
They would. I have a feeling the wheels are in motion, and all of the vast majority of those people would just turn around and spend it on Amazon.
Yeah.
They would just
I mean, would it
perpetuate the cycle, unfortunately.
I suppose it would lead directly to mass inflation, right? Because they would all go on a wild spending spree.
They would just
Everyone would
be,
just
they would just double down on
consumers.
being consumers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I would do is the power move. If I was the employee, I would just buy Amazon stock with that money.
Ooh, except
Boom.
for what if the stock crashed because of the generosity?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll have to Bad Boy Rai call in and give us stock advice since he's the multimillionaire. We have, I don't know. Are you in a rush to get out of here to do your parenting?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Matt, so let's go into a couple of surf related topics. Matt Warshaw is doing his member drive for the EOS.surf. Do you have thoughts on this?
Yes, everyone should sign up. It's $3 a month, I think only. Did the price go up or is it still 3?
I am pushing him hard to jack the price to 6, but it's currently 3.
Okay, so get in now then. Even more incentive. Next year it'll probably be 6, I'm gonna guess. Get in now. It's totally worth it. I use the Encyclopedia of Surfing. Like, obviously I'm writing surf related things often through the day, but like, even if I was not writing surf related things, I would still probably visit the Encyclopedia of Surfing once or twice a day, just out of curiosity, like, oh, what was this thing again? Or trying to remember a specific something, or even watching a surf event and then, flicking back over. And yeah, it's a fantastic resource, but it's not just a resource. It's totally enjoyably fun.
Agreed. The reason why you would visit it, even if you weren't a surf journalist, is if you're interested in surfing and you want to find out anything, whatever, Gidget, Reno Abalera, who passed away this year, Derek Ho. You want to learn about Derek Ho? You want to learn about, you hear Michael Thompson's name come up in conversation in the surf world? Google it. You'll find a couple of defunct blogs that wrote an article about Michael Thompson. You'll find Beach Grit's video and a couple of articles. All this stuff around the internet, none of it comprehensive, most of it just a specific story about a specific thing that he did in a moment. There's no Wikipedia of surfing. There's no place where you could just go and rely on finding dates, facts, figures, career highlights, who won what contest, whatever. And what I find most shocking is Surfer Magazine had 50 years, 60 years of content that chronicled all of those things, and they did not archive it digitally. The fact that they even still aren't doing that, in their last kind of gasp, they should have just hired somebody as an archivist to start digitizing all of their stuff, but that doesn't exist. So who's doing it? Matt Warshaw. Matt Warshaw is the only person on the planet who is making those efforts, and he is the most trustworthy person to do it. He's the most reliable person to actually follow through and do it. If you give him $5 or $3 a month, he's actually going to follow through and use that money for that. He's the most academic in his kind of way and his approach and his research. And so I feel more than confident and comfortable. I'm thrilled that we have Matt Warshaw. I'm thrilled that this is his passion, and I'm more than happy to give him the $3. I would say, in addition to the subscription, make a one-time donation. It's totally tax deductible, especially if you have a business and you're going to end up giving that money to the government anyways. Just give it to surfing for posterity, for our children.
Amen.
Who else is doing it? Nobody wants to do it. Who wants that responsibility, by the way?
The thing about it too is that it's not just like brittle, dry descriptions or whatever. Matt's got a writing style that fits so perfectly with what he's doing. It's not too over the top, right? It's not like going to age poorly because it's crazy stylized. He totally has a distinct style, Warshaw does, that works perfectly for what he's doing. So you get fantastic reading. It's not just informational. It like flows beautifully. It's a work of art.
Totally agree. Totally agree. EOS.surf. Get that donation in before December 16th for Matt's purposes. He'll take your donation any time of year, but he's doing the drive through December 16th. So EOS.surf. Chaz, we need to come up with a name for the segment where I read you your own headlines.
Oh yeah.
I thought like clickbait or investigate, but
That's pretty good.
It's all right. I think there's a better option than investigate. Like,
let's put it out to the listeners.
Okay. So what I'm thinking what we're really trying to define, or what I am trying to.
Is it pure clickbait, or is there meat behind the headline?
That's what I thought at first, which is why I chose investigate, but I actually don't think that's what my questions are now. I think because clickbait would mean that there's actually, well, clickbait, or is it even, okay, maybe it is investigate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it worth, like, that's what you're trying to get at, right? Is this worth clicking on, or was it purely?
It's always worth clicking on, I guess, is what I'm getting at. It's always worth clicking on. Is the title, is the story even worth reading?
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what
Yeah.
it is. Is the story worth reading is what I'm getting at.
I'll give you an honest yes or no.
I guess the comedy of it always is always there. It's always funny. So the question is the story, does it even is it worth writing about? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I get it.
All right. So I'm going to read you a couple.
Okay.
You have two options. You can either defend the headline, or you could tell me what the story's about.
Okay.
World Surf League flexes hard on long-suffering fans, forces them to enter foil king Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse in order to experience professional contest surfing.
This is a good one right here. This is a banger of me getting angry that the World Surf League is not letting me take their contests and embed them for free in Beach Grit anymore.
That's right. Did I do this one last week?
What?
No, I don't think I didn't read this headline last week. Maybe we just talked about the concept.
Yeah, but like, we talk about the concept? We did. How frustrating it is that they're chasing fans off rather than trying to, So that's that. But they did accidentally leave the Facebook embed or Facebook embeddable this week for the final at Haleiwa. So we had that on site.
Got it.
Suck it, Surf League. Yeah.
So, okay. So they're forcing us to go to their website or their Facebook.
Or YouTube, right? Why force them there? Like, why? I mean, if you're going to have it only on your website, I would understand that, right? If you're going to be playing this thing on YouTube and Facebook, why are you forcing people to go to something that you're not really benefiting from at all, right? Like, you're benefiting from the view there. You're not benefiting from the person being, like, what I think it is, I thought about this a little bit more. I think that they were, I know that they were very aware of the comment live on Beach Grit and how successful it was. And I think they're trying to kill that. And so people will comment on their own dumb thing. But there's dumb people who comment there. Like,
it's not fun.
It's not fun at all. You come to Beach Grit for a certain tone of conversation that will not happen when there's heart emojis and cool barrel guys and whatever.
Right.
Silliness up there.
Well, also the idea that forcing people to do it on Facebook is also just a bad PR move in this day and age. You know, completely. Like that's kind of the point of your headline, is forcing us into Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse is like a bad move.
Not cool, WSL.
Not cool. Speaking of barrel, cool barrel guys. Speaking of barrel, do you know who defined the word barrel for the Oxford English Dictionary?
Matthew Warshaw.
Boom. EOS.surf. Give it.
There's a whole New Yorker profile. Matt Warshaw was in the New Yorker. He's so famous at what he does.
Did Finnegan write that piece?
I can't remember if it was Finnegan who wrote it or not.
Well, they're buddies. So yeah, that would make sense. All right, back to clickbait or investigate. Notoriously cannibalistic, sharp-fanged hermaphrodite lancetfish washes up on beach in San Diego. Locals hope beyond hope that it'll be enough to scare off holiday soft top horde.
Yeah, this wasn't really a story, was it? This one was
The story's
not a
all there
story
in the headline.
at all. The entire story is in the headline. A deep sea lancetfish. But this is the interesting thing here, this is the second deep sea fish that's washed up. There was the anglerfish at Black's, Pacific football fish, I think it's called, last week. And then this one, they live in the depths. What's happening down there?
Global warming, bro.
You know the part where
How did you not blame Outer Known for this?
Yeah, I know. I should have. I really should have.
Them filling
fault.
the land. Yeah, them sending out the catalogs. By the way, a listener chimed in and he's like, "Hey, I thought Chaz was just BSing about receiving that catalog in the mail, A, and B, having a dog on the cover that's wrapped in a scarf." Until I got this in the mail, and he sent me a photo. It's literally a dog wearing, it's not a scarf, but it's one of their flannels wrapped around his neck. I'm like, so now you're choking a dog?
Yeah. I got one from. I mean, I did a second story even from Beach Grit being unwittingly engaged in Kelly Slater's filling landfills with holiday cheer, because
Brutal.
a Beach Grit commenter, great guy, New Jersey, said he has never once clicked on Outer Known, never done anything, but the conversation on Beach Grit, lo and behold, he got a Outer Known thing stuffed in his mailbox too. So,
oh man,
maybe the Outer Known people are tracking Beach Grit, visitors and or commenters, and then accidentally blasting them Outer Known mail.
They're in bed with Facebook's algorithm tracker. Yep. By the way, I screenshotted it and I just never sent it to you, but within minutes, 30 minutes after we finished recording our last show, I got an ad for Mont Blanc pen on Instagram.
Oh, great. Good.
How crazy is that?
I hope you clicked.
I was curious to click just to see the price, but I got distracted. I screenshotted it and then I think got distracted.
Does the algorithm know when you're screenshotting? Do you think?
It has to, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they're listening.
Yeah.
They know that we talked about Mont Blanc. It's going to come up again after this.
Totally.
After this podcast.
Speaking of tracking, my buddy doing the Amazon delivery said that the GPS on all of the orders and everything take place on a phone. So you show up in the morning, they give you your phone with all your orders and GPS and all that. But the GPS is so specific that it could track whether you're at the curb or at the front door of the house.
Whoa. That's that's scary.
Yeah. And he said that he doesn't think that UPS or the other ones necessarily are that fancy or that specific, but the Amazon ones are. So they know exactly where every single step is throughout your entire day.
Oh, that's awful. I don't like to hear that. Jeff Bezos.
Side note, I said earlier that I had two stories, one about kicking dogs and one about yelling at people driving. Come back to those real quickly. Signed off the show where I said there's never a good reason to kick a dog. And a listener's like, actually, there is. Last week. Yeah, he goes, last week I was going somewhere, I think. And there was a woman who she was screaming at the top of her lungs. She was taking her little dog for a walk, and a husky ran free of the owner's house and chomped onto her arm. The husky was locked onto the woman's arm. Like she had picked her small dog up to protect it, and the husky jumped up and bit her arm and wouldn't let go. So he ran over there and kicked the husky to free the woman.
I would like for this listener to call in with how satisfying it was just to embed his foot in that husky's ribs. I'm
gonna stop you right now. We can't lose any more sponsors. Can't handle any more hate mail.
Oh man, that husky is going to get put down.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you involve the authorities, if Ashton calls the authorities on this, and then I got a listener line call where a guy was like, "Hey, speaking of yelling at people driving down the street, back in 1990 or whatever, I was working at this place, and a buddy of mine who I worked with he was doing a house party to watch a Mike Tyson fight. And before the party, they were all out front drinking, and a car flew down the street at a high speed, and they all yelled, "Hey, slow down, slow down." The car turned around, drove back, pulled out a gun, opened fire, and killed my buddy and shot a number of other people. Full drive-by shooting. Turned out it was legit gangbangers in the car that they had yelled at, and my buddy died. And so now I've yelled at cars driving down the street because we have kids, and my wife always stops me and is like, "Hey, remember what happened to your buddy?" I was, first of all, listening to this listener line call, the way the story developed, I was aghast, like horrific. It was so dark that that's why I didn't play it on the show, even though I'm telling you now. But I was just like, holy cow, how insane is that?
It's totally true though. Like that was like the yelling at cars for speeding thing. Really gotta pick your battles on that one. Because I mean, in this day and age, in any day and age, I suppose, but there's many guns in America and many angry people.
And if that's 100% true, but it also depends on what neighborhood you live in.
Kind of, but you never can like sure, if you know a bunch of gangbangers are speeding down the street, but also in rich white neighborhoods, you have a bunch of rich entitled people with guns. True. Like who may be on the brink anyhow, and just, I mean, yeah, it really is yelling after cars is it's important. Somebody's got to do it sometimes, but
as with all of the advice we give here, it's a real double-edged sword.
Yep.
Can come back and cut you real easily. But I still think you yelling at a car in your neighborhood is less risk than doing it in National City or Chula Vista.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. One more headline before we go to commercial. After breathless climb, surf adjacent website, The Inertia, reaches peak, The Inertia, pairing thought leaders from different spheres to tackle our most pressing topics and mobilizing innovators as a force for good.
I mean, can you even believe it? A wonderful friend sent me the link to the Inertia's 4th annual Evolve Summit. And I read it and I was laughing so hard reading it. It was so Inertia. It was peak Inertia that I just had to share my giggles with the rest of the world. It is like, I don't know how you could straight-faced write the word thought leader, or like what they do is so patently ridiculous. Like I know nobody from the Inertia will ever come on and debate it. I would absolutely love, and you could tie me to the chair. I would be good. But it is so absurd. I don't even know the person who would go to that thing. Who reads that and thinks, oh, thought leaders, like innovating for good, all these buzzwords, and thinks, oh, Eric Logan's talking about, what's Eric's speech on?
Oh, I didn't know he was participating.
Yeah. It's something like marketing and something in uncertain times. So you're going to go listen to Eric Logan just spew like whatever that kind of weird speak is. It's not business speak. What is it? Like
corpo.
Performative corpo speak, because it's a specific kind of speak, right? Like it's a performative, greenwashed, ethically sourced corpo speak. And then like the whole thing, like they're all going to get together and talk about how they're going to innovate for good at this summit. What in the world are you guys doing? Like you're innovating for good by using phrases like thought leaders. What's actually going to happen? Like maybe you should shut your mouths and go do stuff instead of doing that kind of stuff. It's so weird.
I have a feeling that's their response to us. Maybe you guys should shut your mouth and go do stuff.
Well, but that's like, I get like, yeah, I mean, it's funny. The funny thing is I thought, look, and I put it I put the link to the ticket and everything on Beach Grit. Like if you're into that kind of stuff, go do it.
So they're selling tickets to it?
Yeah, $35.
It's not
$35. It's an evening of thought leader innovation.
They're pairing thought leaders from different spheres.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Jamal Yogis or whatever's there doing a meditation session. I think there's some films, Jojo Roper, which is weird. Jojo Roper, I like Jojo Roper. And so he's showing the film there. So then it made me think, I would love listeners to call in. Am I just wrong? Am I like on the wrong side of both history and everything on my thinking the inertia is the most mockable thing on earth?
Well, yeah, call in. I would love to hear the defense. I think there's a consensual, not hallucination, but like a consensual thing that everybody buys into. Like Jojo Roper doesn't think that the inertia is core or legit. He just knows they have a big audience, right? And so he goes, all right, I just want to benefit from some of this shine, or not shine, it's just benefit from the number of people that you have paying attention to what you're doing. And that's why I'm going to participate. And Eric Logan sees it. Yeah, we're going to get publicity for the WSL out of this. And the inertia sees it as, well, if Eric Logan brings 20 tickets, sells 20 tickets, and JoJo validates us to the core community. So everybody's trying to use one another in this thing, but I don't know that anybody actually believes in one another. You know,
I mean, but that's the thing, to have this thing, like the whole under the auspices of we're going to, get together. I think it's, Zach Weisberg's, the amount of like mealy mouthed, like silly positivity stuff he can churn out in sentences is mind boggling. It's impressive. But so I'm like, we're going to high five and, change the world with this kind of stuff, which am I just being rude to think that to just sit there and mock them ruthlessly to laugh?
No, this exists all around the world. It's offensive to you because it's trying to exist in the surf space, like this nonsense that doesn't need to, these kind of TED Talky get together things that don't really need to happen. It's trying to exist in the surf space, but it's no longer in the surf space really, which is, I think, is why we stopped talking about it a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't think about the inertia ever. It's just,
yeah.
But when I see it, I just think but who's going to go? I mean, I guess people who go to TED Talks, people who
even goes?
Well, that's the thing, but like I've seen, this is their 4th annual one, and I've seen a Instagram or something from a previous Evolve talk, and it seemed fairly well attended. So people actually go. But
yeah, it's weird.
I mean, I guess I'm just answering my own questions. It's the same person who probably is on Facebook and gets real mad and canceling people and is performative in their, whatever, like their performative, whatever stuff that they do.
Well, without the inertia, there would be no mobilizing of innovators to enact a force for good. So it's a good thing that they're doing that.
Thanks, the inertia.
Yep, appreciate it. All right, let's go to commercial break. We will come back with Barrel or Nah. All right, Chaz, we are back.
Great.
We didn't even talk about the Challenger Series event at Haleiwa. I guess we can.
Well, here's the thing about it. Yeah, like there's no sunset anymore, right? That's now the video thing. I'm so confused about the Triple Crown.
Okay. Sunset exists as a CT event now, so that'll be but it does still. Vans is doing the digital Triple Crown, so there isn't going to be a scaffold on the beach running an event. They're the surfers who sign up, all the athletes that sign up through their website can then submit waves from the 3 venues, Haleiwa, Sunset, and Pipe, and then they will vote on and pick a winner who's kind of got the best waves from those venues. I think individual event titles, and then also an overall Vans Triple Crown winner. John Florence last year, Carissa Moore.
I've decided that the digital thing makes me mad.
I'm going to take the opposite stance.
I do not like it. They should have just, don't call it the Triple Crown. You could call it the
They own
Vans
the property though.
Challenge.
No, but they own the property, and are you going to just let that property go by the wayside, like the name?
If you're not going to actually do what the Triple Crown is, then yes. Like the Triple Crown is not this. The Triple Crown is the highest placing finisher at Haleiwa, Sunset, and Pipeline. That is the Triple Crown. The Triple Crown is not this dang video series.
Okay, so what about all the years past where you shamed the WSL for the limitations of their format because of the scaffolding on the beach? And you said, what if we just do video parts? What if we just let surfers go around the world and submit their best clip? That's what this is.
Don't like it. I was wrong.
I disagree. And I think Vans is going to get more mileage out of this. I think Vans. So I think, first of all, this happened because of COVID. This happened last year. And they said, well, how do we kind of continue this event without putting scaffoldings on the beach and people congregating? And I think what they came out of that realizing is, man, why don't we just empower 150 athletes to give us their content and then also promote Vans? So even if they're writing for Globe, even if they're writing for a different competing brand, they're now posting our stuff and tagging us online, and we're actually getting more mileage out of it. And furthermore,
I'm not mad at the idea. I'm
Okay.
mad at calling it being called the Triple Crown. Call it the Vans Video Challenge. To come up with some different name. Retire the Triple Crown. If you don't do the Triple Crown anymore, you don't do it. It'd be like saying, instead of this year, we're not going to play the Super Bowl. We are going to have like cool video parts where all the best players from around the NFL are going to, send in their coolest workout clip. And we're going to call that the Super Bowl now. That's okay.
Coolest
you can
workout clip
or whatever, like some cool thing, throw as whatever. They can make it as cool as they want. Even you can't call that the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is a thing. You could do that and call it the NFL Video Showcase.
Well, let's take all those videos. What are we going to do with those videos? We're going to put them all together into a bowl, and we're going to pick out the super clips from it. Boom, the Super Bowl. That's where.
Oh,
what else? What else are you going to call it? What else are you
They
going to call it? It's the
They should
Super
call
Bowl.
it the Vans Super Bowl. Oh man, just think how the NFL could just sue for days, just tie up the NFL in court.
Barrel or nah? Fake Christmas trees.
Ooh, just had this discussion yesterday. I am a no barrel, except for I was thinking about, now that I'm a environmental activist, shaming Kelly Slater's Outer Known, etc. What is the environmental impact of Christmas trees? Is it like net neutral? Like these Christmas tree farms, right? There's not like they're going in the woods and chopping them. They're Christmas tree farms that grow these trees. Then the trees get chopped down and you put it up in your house, and then you take it out to the curb on a special day and it gets picked up and I assume gets turned into sawdust or something, right?
I think it's a net positive.
You think the Christmas, I mean, I was wondering if it was net neutral or net positive. I would love a listener to know, because I'm not going to Google it, how damaging this is. I mean, I have the feeling that it's the tree growing is providing, oxygen and whatnot. It getting cut down is maybe a bummer, but it making your house look pretty is good. And then, just what do they do with it at the end, I suppose?
Yeah, I think maybe where it becomes a neutral or a negative is all of the transportation.
Yeah.
Because it's not only transporting the trees, the energy required to cut down and then transport to the location to sell them, but then all the cars going to the location and then going back home, and then the trash trucks to pick up that. Yeah, there's a lot there that we would have to factor in. But you are adding a ton of trees to the world that would not have been planted otherwise.
The problem is with the fake Christmas tree is you are getting now plastic, right? And
True.
So that thing is never going to decompose. It's going to be, but if you use it a lot, I don't know, maybe we need to make just, and I'm sure they have this, a fake tree with real scent. Because so much about the Christmas tree experience is the smell.
Forget about the environmentalism. This is an aesthetic thing to me, and I will never get a fake tree. And the ritual of going to get the tree, it's a hassle. I could actually argue that I'm against it, except hassle is good. Hassle builds. It really is. The ritual going, doing it. I'm annoyed by it. There's a line. There's, I have to interact with people, which I don't like to do. It's now super expensive. I mean, I feel like I used to spend $60 to get a tree. Now it's 120 or 140 somehow.
Yep, inflation.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the cleanup at the house, but it's all worth it because for this month, we're forced to look at this thing that reminds us about the reason for the season.
It's so true. I am a fan of the Christmas tree, the whole experience, the ritual of it, the decoration, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I've never once thought about getting a fake Christmas tree, except for this pastime at the Christmas tree lot. The daughter was attracted to a Christmas tree that had been flocked pink, like fully pink. And it was so absurd that I thought, oh, that's kind of okay. So, but I wouldn't get the real Christmas tree that was flocked pink. I would just go get a fake pink Christmas tree. I
Secondary
could see a time and a place for a pink fake Christmas tree.
You got to get the real one, then have the pink one as a surplus tree, like in a different room, in her bedroom or something.
Yeah,
you know?
True.
Yeah, so definite no barrel on fake Christmas tree.
No
You're
barrel.
ruining Christmas for your entire family if you get the fake tree.
No barrel.
Okay, barrel or not. People who drink soda for breakfast.
Oh, no barrel. The person who replaces coffee, who just thinks, okay, what I'm getting out of coffee is caffeine. Well, instead of caffeine from coffee, I'm just going to get it from Diet Coke. So gross. Disgusting.
Crazy, right?
You see it a lot too.
I know. Dude, I'll see it not only a soda, but like the giant 44-ounce soda. I'll be driving in the morning and I see somebody who has a fast food giant big gulp cup. And I marvel. And it's those types of people do it daily. It's a ritual for them.
If you don't want to drink coffee in the morning, but you still need caffeine and you're just not a coffee person, get stinking caffeine gum or a caffeine pill or something. Do not drink soda in the morning. Like,
I think people could listen to us and the amount that we talk about alcohol on this show and be like, holy cow, that's way worse. What do you guys, I'm not going to listen to your advice about what to put in my body. I disagree. Alcohol is not worse. Giant big gulp of soda is worse than me putting the alcohol in my body.
It's true. It's true. Especially in the morning. Nice Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
Worcestershire sauce.
I'm no dietitian, but I do feel like that the amounts of sugar in that thing and rotting, like there's zero benefit to drinking that. It's horrible. And it's just
Diet Coke, I think.
Completely. And it's also just like a bad like it's an unsophisticated meal choice. Like it's a splurge. Maybe I'll have a sip of a Coke with a hamburger or a pizza or something like that, but that's not the right pairing. It's not the right thing to do in the morning.
But also,
Gross.
and you're also blowing the seams out of your day early, because say you like soda. I'm not anti-soda. By no means am I anti-soda. But what are you going to do then at lunch, right? Like if you use your soda time, your soda allowance, drinking a ton of soda a day is gross. You drinking one soda a day is even a little much, but not bad. But save it. Drink coffee in the morning.
If you start with Diet Coke for breakfast, you have to level up for lunch. You have to go orange soda.
Yep.
You have to go grosser. And then dinner.
Go orange soda, grape soda. Grape soda is so good though. When was the last grape soda you had?
15 years ago, probably.
It's not widely available enough, I don't think.
No.
Grape sodas.
What do you level after you level up from Diet Coke to orange or grape? You got to go cream soda for dinner or like a root beer float or something.
Cream soda. Ooh, I love cream soda too. Now that we're talking about sodas.
Cream soda in like literally a tiny portion. Like I want
moderation.
I want 6 ounces of cream soda is all that I need.
I would put root beer float very, very, very near the top, if not the top of my favorite desserts on earth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
A root beer float with A&W root beer from the cask. Did you know they do still pump it from the cask at A&W restaurants?
First of all, I didn't know there were still A&W restaurants.
There's one. It's almost worth driving to. It's like, or one that I know is like, if you're going up to Big Bear, I think it's in
Mentone Beach.
Exactly, Mentone Beach, right there.
Every time I drive past it, I make a promise to myself that I'm going to hit it next time I drive past it.
Oh, you
I never do.
They have the cask root beer there, like literally pumped from the cask, proper root beer. It is so good. It's worth the drive to Mentone Beach. If you're in Rancho Cucamonga right now, pitch a quick north or east or whatever. Go to Mentone.
Every once in a while, I like that they named it Mentone Beach. It's as far from the beach as you could get other than Lemoore.
Yep.
They try to make it sound nice. Every once in a while, I think to myself, I would like a root beer. Or I'm like it's usually actually at some sort of a specialty grocery store and they have like all these fancy root beers. And I think, you know what? I'm curious about that craft root beer. I would like to revisit root beer and let's go for the fanciest version I could buy. It is never as good as the straight up A&W.
I mean, the A&W from the restaurant, I think, is the best, because
Yeah.
A&W in the bottle, like with corn syrup and the whatnot, is fine enough root beer. But the one from an A&W diner from an
Yeah.
is perfection.
I hear you.
No root beer can beat it.
I hear you, but even still, like A&W, Bargs, Dad's, those classic brands beat craft root beer every single time.
But A&W with a scoop of ice cream on top, I don't know that there's a finer dessert on the face of this earth.
I don't disagree. It's delicious.
Yep.
Don't have it for breakfast though. You're missing your coffee opportunity. Okay, final barrel or nah. Wearing matching outfits with your partner.
Ooh, Jonah Hill and surf instructor Sarah Brady.
It all comes back to okay.
It's no barrel. Like, it can never be good. You only are emasculated as a man. I think if you do that, there's no way to pull that off because for sure it wasn't. I mean, if you're the man and it was your idea to do that, that's super lame. If you're the man and you were talked into doing that, that's super lame. There's no good way or good time for twinsing with your wife.
So what were they wearing? Who was the designer? What did the outfit look like? And
they're wearing powder blue Gucci suits with I think they were Valentino smoking slippers. It might have been Louboutin. I can't remember. Jonah paired his with some spiritual beads. Went shirtless. I think she went shirtless too underneath. They both had like kind of matching brooches on their lapels, I do believe.
Slicked black blonde hair.
Yeah, it's just like, what in the world? Like, I don't know.
They're on the red carpet for Scorsese film.
I think it really was. Derek described, I think, what made Jonah Hill mad at Beach Grit at the very first was Derek saying he plays sexless butterballs in movies, which I think is undeniable, right? Like, Derek did not call him a sexless butterball. I think he said actor famous for playing sexless butterballs in films, which I think is pretty undeniable. I think was a Jonah Hill sort of stereotypical role. The matching powder blue suit thing with the significant other really seemed very sexless. It just seemed like
totally
we're both one thing. There was no like tension or any kind of anything. It seemed like sexless.
Well, it could be that they're hypersex beasts. Like, they're, the androgyny of David Bowie didn't make me think that he was not interested in sex. It made me think that he was having sex with anything and everything at all times. For sure.
I'm not like, it's not the androgyny thing that it was off-putting. It just seemed like, I mean, not in sexless that they don't have a active sex life or whatever. Like, I'm meaning using sexless, I guess, as an adjective to describe just the feel of it. Like, there's nothing sexy about it, I suppose. I'm using sexless as opposite of sexy.
So you didn't think that look benefited either one of them?
I mean, I thought they both individually would have looked okay. Like, Sarah looked better than Jonah, but Jonah could have pulled that off, right? Like, it was a very strong look, or like, I don't know, vivid look, I suppose. But either one of them could have pulled it off. Doing it together, just again, took out any kind of, just like, why are you doing that?
I agree. I thought it was a big mistake. I mean, who cares? It's not a mistake. But it didn't benefit either of them. Wasn't Jonah's best look, certainly wasn't Sarah's best look. I mean, Sarah, to me, looks beautiful in her everyday garb or whatever surf attire that she's wearing. I thought it was a swing and a miss. I could see what they were going for. I thought it was a swing and a miss. I thought it was also representative of, like, I talk about androgyny. As cultures, we are morphing into the same sex. Like, men are more effeminate. You and I are far more effeminate than John Wayne's, or Clint Eastwood's generation of men that we grew up looking at. And we now have Ronda Rousey, as on the female side of things. So we're all just kind of morphing towards one another. And I think that they perfectly personified that, and culture loves that. And that's what resonated for culture. They were representing a moment, which is where we're headed. And so headlines other than Beach Grit can get behind it. News.
Oh, it
headlines
was
love it,
universally positive. A universally positive response that I read to Jonah Hill Surfer Look, to
Completely.
Malibu Heavy Jonah Hill.
So was that a body shame in the headline?
No.
Malibu Heavy?
I mean, like heavy local. That's what I meant. Like,
Right.
Like the North Shore Heavy.
Yeah. Right.
It wasn't, I guess, I suppose. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. By the way, I can't wait for that film.
Oh, which one? The Don't Look Up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks good.
Great. Looks really good.
Looks fantastic.
I love, Jonah Hill, despite all of his missteps and into the surf world, still makes some great films. Works with great directors.
Pick some great films to make besides thinking Jerry Garcia. Aside from that, mostly wins.
Who's making the Jerry Garcia movie?
Scorsese.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Marty.
It's going to be good.
Won't be.
Okay. Well, you know what? Actually, he's notorious for making unlikable lead characters.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese.
So there you go. That falls right in line. I mean, Travis Bickle, Goodfellas, I
watched on my when I went to Italy
Raging
over
Bull.
the summer, I watched back-to-back Goodfellas, and I think I watched 3 Scorsese's back-to-back. Goodfellas, or maybe it was just 2. Goodfellas, and what's the Irish one?
The Irishman.
No, he also did
The Departed.
The Departed. So I watched Goodfellas and Departed back-to-back, like 6 hours of Scorsese. I realized how much he pulls a punch of making his, like, the Ray Liotta character such a pulled punch. Like, great film. I love Goodfellas, but he lets him off the hook. I mean, I know that was a real story, and so he was working with, guys, he can't make him look like a villain, but Ray Liotta, like, was a straight up rat, and so was Jack Nicholson's character in The Departed. Or I'm sorry, not Jack Nicholson. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I feel Scorsese goes way too light on rats. Like, he likes himself a rat. He makes movies about rats, and their ratting is kind of bad, but not really that bad.
I'd have to rewatch because I can't think of the storyline to really identify what you're getting at.
I mean, Liotta, the straight up rat went into witness protection.
Right, but he wasn't celebrating. That's kind of my point, is he wasn't celebrating Ray Liotta. It wasn't like, I don't know, was he?
A little bit.
Okay, I'll have to rewatch it.
Goodfellas.
All right. Well, great show once again. Thanks to Album Surf, even though they didn't host us, we always owe them thanks. And what else? What else you got?
That's it. Just got to get into ballet training right now.
All right.
Big performance coming up this weekend or next weekend. Buy your tickets.
Pitch it. Where do they go?
Nutcracker. It's on Beach Grit. Go find the story that I am dressed in drag or half drag, and click it, and it'll take you right there.
Sweet.
Yep.
All right, Chaz. Intel next week.
Get barrel.